Beautiful. Good morning, everybody. Just going to double check and make sure that we're all set. And there we are. Almost. 1 second. I love technology. I love it. I love it. Okay. I can't seem to find the page. Hold on 1 second. This is so crazy. Okay. I cannot find us. It says that we're live on Facebook, and I just want to double check because I cannot find us. Okay, there we are. I just want to make sure I can see this because if questions are coming up, I want to make sure we can answer it. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Colin. Good evening to you. I know we have people all across the globe, so it's evening for some and morning for some and probably afternoon for others. And then hello to everybody that joins us later as well. I wish you guys could listen to the conversation Colin and I have before we get ready to go live, because we have some really great context. So we were just talking, recapping, talking about, being responsible for our emotions, which is what we talked about last Sunday, and guilt specifically. But anyway, I just wish you guys could be little flies on the wall to hear some of these amazing tidbits that I am always getting from Colin. Um, Today, Colin's going to share some really, really fascinating information about the soul, what the soul is, how it lives in the body, and some things that I think a lot of people don't really understand about our soul. And overall, it's challenging for people in the awakening stages and to really understand what's going on with their body. And one of the things, this isn't something that I've made up. I don't know who made it up, but it's still one of my favorite comments. And it's whoever controls the soul controls the mind. Right? So whoever controls the soul controls the mind, and that's very important to understand. And the first thing that begins to happen when we are awakening is that our first step of awakening is embodying the soul. And so I want, I'm going to double check that this is really going where it needs to go, because I'm seeing that it might be being blocked again. And now we're finally public, so this is good. We were not being shadow banned. Facebook has this beautiful thing where it just loves to switch my settings just because it can, I guess. So I'm not going to go back through that because so many people are going to watch the recording. But what I do want to reiterate is whoever controls the soul controls the mind. Okay. And so we're going to talk about how the soul is in the body. I have some really fun ideas and ways, things that I see in the field work that I do as well. So thank you, Colin, for always being here and always being present and just expanding your love, because you have so much love to give and so much knowledge to offer everybody. And I'm so grateful for this. And I'm really excited to hear about uh, your take on how the soul, what is the soul? Some people are just, they don't even, I mean, they might go, yeah, I have a soul, but really, what is it? Is it really, is it who we are? Is it just this thing? Is it, we all live from ego, or is that our soul? These kinds of things. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and let you start with your teachings and your cellular knowing on the soul. So thank you. Take it
Yeah,
away.
Yeah, there's so much disinformation here, you know. So where did I get my information from? You know, I had to go through a journey where I learned about the structure of humanity, of reality. um, I was shown how time and space works. I was shown frozen time. I was shown acceleration of time. I was shown time spirals and how they work. I was shown how there are multiple timelines at the same time. I was shown how this all happens in a multi-dimensional structure of the universe. I was shown, you know, portals, stargates, wormholes, and various other structures that exist in the universe. And it's very difficult for the human mind to comprehend all of this. And in my own journey of learning this, uh, it almost became unbearable to me because I was in such a state of cognitive dissonance that my mind couldn't accept what I was being told and
Right.
what I was shown and what I was being taught. I had to go deeply, deeply into myself. And there was one time I actually considered ending my life because I just found it totally unbearable
Yeah.
uh, to imagine, you know, all the things that I've been told and trying to make any sense of it. And I think a lot of people here, as we go through this great awakening, are going to go through that experience
Mm-hmm.
of just not understanding and having this battle between their consciousness and what they've been taught, the true self within, as opposed to the self that is being represented outside of themselves, that they try to represent, or they've been told to represent themselves to the world in order to be acceptable to the system, the matrix. And then when one of the things I learned was that everything in the universe is just about energy, vibration, and frequency. And the soul is just a field of energy that vibrates at a certain frequency, and it has a certain um, it has certain properties, but it doesn't only have properties; it has a structure.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There
That's
is a
beautiful.
structure to the soul,
Mm-hmm.
and people uh, don't know this because, you know, as you mentioned, people say, "Oh, I have a soul." Well, what does that mean? They
Mm-hmm.
don't understand. Okay, now what is the soul? The soul is the field of energy that animates your body.
Yes.
Without the soul, the body would be lifeless. The body would not be apparent. The body would not exist. So our external reality is created by the soul. And understanding how the structure of the soul works is very important. And the two primary energies of the soul are our thoughts and our emotions. And if we can't get that into our heads, that our soul, our thoughts and emotions are energy, they're measurable energy. You can go have an ECG and they will measure the thoughts and feelings coming off your body.
Right.
They, they're measurable energy. And when the soul leaves the body dies. And there's photographs on the internet you can go see if they've actually photographed people who died. And when they die, there's this energy field that leaves the body.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't understand that they are souls.
This
They're
is
not.
And that's true. I know last week we talked just a little bit about the photography that can be done of, our energy fields. One of the words that I want to kind of just come back to, that a lot of people don't know what this means, and that's cognitive dissonance. And that's something that you said when you just started sharing, and it's something that I use a lot. But it's also something a lot of people don't understand what cognitive dissonance is. And so I think that this happens often. And this is one of the things that takes us away from understanding our soul. So this is like that split between the ego and the mind, or the ego, mind, and the heart center, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so, we kind of live in mental anxiety. We have, all of the emotions, and this kind of is tying into, the emotional pieces we were talking about last week, right? We get stuck in these emotions, which is our ego, right? Which is, and I want to keep dropping in pieces of information about how the structures of the body work. So, our ego is in the first harmonic, our soul is going to be in the second harmonic, right? So, understanding, just kind of tossing those out there, and we can talk about those as we keep going on. But cognitive dissonance. So, that's having a spiritual intelligence, that's really understanding, that we do have a soul, really embracing that. And,
yeah,
and if we don't have that heart mind connection, then, yeah.
yeah. The three properties, basic properties of the soul in the first, second, and third dimension, which creates a harmonic field of reality. Okay, we're experiencing ourselves. We have in our experiences in the first, second, and third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
The first dimension is the the, uh, the rhythm. The second, or pulse or beat. The second is the thoughts, the mind, and the third is the heart. Okay. And our consciousness is stationed in the fourth dimension, observing ourselves in the first, second, and third dimension.
Right. Which is
Okay.
kind of that's mind bending. That's going to be really mind bending for people to, right? That's a tricky one, because it's hard to go, wait a second, I'm seeing myself from another dimension. How does that make sense? Well, that's what happens when we embody our soul, right? We get the beauty of living in from other timelines or different perspectives.
Yeah, the soul is the observer of one's own reality. So our souls are observing ourselves in this reality field. And what they're observing is a conditioned mind, a conditioned heart, and a rhythm that is being imposed on us. Okay, now rhythm creates time and timelines, and everything is about rhythm in the universe. But so we are conditioned in our minds. Our minds are conditioned from the day we're born here. Our minds get conditioned to behave in a certain way, to think in a certain way, to feel in a certain way, to speak in a certain way, to have certain values and standards and certain attitudes. And there we are in the fourth dimension observing ourselves, but the fourth dimensional observer can't do anything about it, because it is our choice, our will, that we need to engage with and say, do I want to experience this reality that I'm experiencing or not?
Yes, gosh, yes.
And the power of the soul says you can experience anything you wish to experience in your reality. That's the power of the soul. But people just can't get that.
No.
That we are extremely powerful beings. But because we accept the conditioning that
Mm-hmm.
we've been taught, we just we get trapped into a matrix,
Yeah.
okay, that is designed to enslave us.
Yes.
And to break out of that slavery, we have to make new choices. about
Yes.
what we want to experience.
We have to break down those old structures in order to build new structures. And you know what, Colin? People are going to say, that's too hard. That's too hard. I don't want to stop doing this, or I don't want to stop doing that, because that's just too much work for me. Right. Um, so, I mean, I guess that's just kind of, oh, too bad, so sad for you, right? If you don't want to work through these, if you don't want to understand the power of, I create my reality by embodying my soul, because after the soul comes more embodiment of higher frequencies, and it doesn't
You
just
know?
end at the soul.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I went through that myself. It's like I said, at one stage I considered ending my life because just became unbearable for me to imagine.
Yeah.
But I was actually this vastly a powerful being who was not being responsible about that power and was just being an AI automaton
Automatic.
doing what I was being told to do and
Yeah.
thinking and feeling what I was conditioned to do, and that I had no power of my own. I was a conditioned being, and that was so hard for me that I actually just decided I didn't want to go through this experience. No, I decided I want to end it.
Mm.
But fortunately, my higher selves, which are very kind, gentle beings, they understood this. So they came and explained to me what cognitive dissonance is and how difficult it is for humans to understand. They explained the system, the world system we experience here. I did my own research and I thought, by golly, they're right.
By golly, they're right. I love that. Yeah. By golly, they're right. Um, I will say, thank you for sharing that. It's going to be and has been very challenging for a lot of people in this awakening process. They don't want to see anymore. They don't want to do anymore. I know we were chatting about that before too, and where I didn't come to, I didn't have this grand awakening, like you did, right? So like you had this grand awakening and all this information just came busting in, where it's like I was a child and lived with this my whole life, right? And so, we were chatting earlier and I said, oh, I must have been late teens. And I said, I don't want it anymore. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't, I don't want to know. And so, you know what they did? Took it away. I couldn't see, I couldn't sense anything anymore. So all of my extrasensory perception was, not all of it was gone, but it was severely hindered. And, I lived that life of thinking I was a free thinker until I realized I wasn't. And I was like, oh my gosh, now how do I get out of this maze? And,
Yeah,
uh, and then ensued this great journey, through my 20s, through my 30s, into my 40s. And, it's like, oh my gosh, I should have just never said, I don't want to know, right? I was like, oh my goodness.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
look, I have to tell everybody straight up that it's the most difficult journey you'll ever undertake
it is. It is.
because, I've done lots of things in my life. I've been a musician, a sportsman, an academic, a great, a banker. I've done a lot of things. I've scuba dived, I've done rapiding, all kinds of things. And this was the hardest thing I ever had to do,
Yeah.
was to abandon everything that I'd been taught and to take on a new mind
Mhm.
and a new heart, because that's part of the awakening process. As you in your post said, the first part of the awakening is awakening the fourth, fifth, and sixth chakras.
Yeah.
And the fourth chakra is the heart chakra.
Yeah.
And before, in my awakening, my heart was dead.
Mhm.
I didn't feel my feelings. I didn't know how to feel. My feelings were all conditioned responses. They were not feelings. I didn't actually understand what feeling was like. And when I began to engage with my emotions and engage with my feelings, I was horrified because I saw all these feelings that were in the background that were hiding themselves, and they wanted to come out, but I didn't know how to express them. You know, I didn't walk around telling people, oh, I love you, you're kind, you're wonderful, you're gentle. I was a cynical bastard, you know, who saw weaker people than myself as being weak, you know, unworthy people. And that's the way a lot of people are, you know. The it's the what they call the draconian, the reptilian mind.
The reptilian mind. Yeah. It's, you know, waking up from the deepest sleep we've been in. You actually almost made me cry. Um, thank you for sharing that, because it is, you know, it's very emotional to see so many people on this planet, and people we love, Colin, you know, our friends, our family members. It's really hard to want so much to just help them, you know, just to fix it for them, and we can't, right? Because it's like a path that we each have to take on our own, and I find
Yeah,
that to be the most challenging thing. Um, and then,
yeah,
you know, and then when we wake that up, and then we get stuck in that astral realm, and we don't continue that awakening. We don't move past, okay, our heart chakra is open, and now we have all these feelings, and all this shadow comes out, and all these things are happening. And, you know, it's so much. It's so much.
yeah. And what we want to do is to try to take on the emotions of other people, you know, and try to help them emotionally that way. Unfortunately, we can't.
No,
Everybody's got to be responsible for their own emotions.
yeah,
And, you know, and once one realizes that, then begins to be responsible for your own emotions. You don't take on the emotions of other people, you
right.
know. So you're able to detach from other people's emotions, but to be able to engage with them.
Yeah. That's what
So
I
you,
call holding 0 point.
yeah, so you engage with them in a loving kind, so you express your own emotions towards them, but you don't have to take on their emotions.
Yeah. Which is challenging as a human being, right? When we
Yeah,
don't understand, when we're not responsible for ourselves. And
yeah,
we think, you know, and that's emotional intelligence. That's
yeah.
spiritual
And
intelligence.
we all have children and brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and friends and family, and you know, they don't feel the same way we feel, and we want them to feel the same way we feel, and we try to, you know, engage with their emotions.
Yeah.
But you know, uh, you can engage with other people's emotions if you are being responsible for your own.
Yeah.
When you're not being responsible for your own emotions, you can't engage with other people's
Nope.
emotions.
Nope, you sure can't. And not on any kind of honest, true level, right? Not
Yeah,
no there's no it's still living in that matrix, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I want to take a question from Nikki, if that's okay with you. Nikki says, how about Biden and others like him? It is frequently said that they or he has no soul, but it is also said that every human has a soul. So is the answer simply that they are not human? I think that's a really great question, because you want to take this one?
Yeah, look, there are many beings on this planet who have the soul of, I want to get this right, have the soul that is distorted. So they aren't fully able to feel their feelings, and they're not able to think outside of their box. They're being trained. They are like missionaries. They go out there with zeal, and they go and do, you know, they've got to get everyone thinking the way they think and feeling the way they feel. And so they're not in control of their own souls. They also become sociopaths, they become psychopaths, and they've got the reptilian mind. And, you know, I wouldn't say they don't have a soul, but they have a distorted version of the soul.
You're so
So
much kinder than me.
they have an AI created soul, an artificial intelligence soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
They, and it's unfortunate. There are people. There are many people on this planet who, who murder, rob, steal, will do harm to other people. And unfortunately, there are vast numbers of, that's what I, became aware of. My higher self told me that, 1/3 of the adults on the planet are, reptilian. They from the draconian mind. And it's, getting rid of them is not going to be easy. Now, having said that, we don't want to get rid of everybody, but
Right.
every soul has the opportunity for redemption.
Yes.
Even at the higher level, there's some of the higher dimensional beings like Thoth, for instance, who comes from a dimension of the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions. They have been coming in and out of their soul contracts for millions of years. And they are not beyond redemption. The universe always allows for redemption because that's the nature of the universe. It's the universe is very merciful, it's kind, it's gentle, it's gracious. So it allows all these beings to be, and we shouldn't wish them harm.
Right.
We should only wish them what we wish ourselves, and that is that we get on with our own soul journey and free mankind from control and this distorted reality.
Mm-hmm.
So um, Joe Biden's just a man expressing himself, and he's expressed himself in very dark ways, which he's gotten away with for a long time. But now it's all coming out, and he's going to have to face his own redemption. But we're not responsible for his redemption. He's responsible for his own redemption. And if he chooses redemption, that's great. If he doesn't, that's his choice.
Like I said, you're much kinder than me. It's hard to hold compassion when there's so much destruction, but it needs to happen. It's important that that compassion comes from those of us that can hold compassion for people who have chosen to express themselves as lower levels of consciousness, is what I like to say, right? And when we make a deal with the devil, then sometimes there's no coming back from that. But just like you're saying, Colin, we all have, every single being has the right to be here. Even when I'm doing uh, not exorcisms, but it's not like that. But when we're removing entities or demonics or whatever from the energy field, they get read their rights. They have a right to be here, right? And
Yeah.
then they need to make a choice. Are you going to go into God's light, or are you going to go back to your own time space continuum? Because you can't continue to feed off of this person. They're asking for help, right?
Yeah,
So
because we live in a unified universe
yeah,
where everything exists in the universe and it has the right to be.
yeah,
And the problem that people have is they're looking outside of themselves and saying, "Well, look at Joe Biden," but they have to look at them within,
yes.
because their redemption is within themselves and
Yep.
not outside of themselves. Joe
And
Biden and Donald Trump's not going to lead you to redemption. That is your own choice. That's your own
yes,
pathway that you have to choose. You
yes.
know, there's nobody outside of you who's going to be your savior. You are it.
Yep. And that's so very important to understand. We're all waiting for this big, this big thing, and people don't understand, that we are our own redemption. We are our own salvation. We are our own, we are designed to become, to to become the risen Christ, essentially, not Jesus, right? So don't mistake me. I don't want to get any hate mail for, for saying we're Jesus or anything. But that risen Christ, that Christos Sophia, we are the Father, the Mother, and the Holy Son and Daughter, which is
Yeah,
very important, you know. And that's an important realization that really actually kind of comes after we embody that piece of the soul. Once we really get the feel for what that second harmonic is, once we understand what it's like living from the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions of reality, then we start to go, oh my gosh, I think I'm starting to understand what love is, like for real. And then once you get past that, even it's like it's so beautiful. It like I wish I had words. There's no words. Like love, I feel like doesn't even cover the what it is.
yeah, and mothers will understand this better than anybody else. Is that you have one child who's very naughty, does the opposite of what that you tell them, is always disobedient, will always try to find a different way to do things, and uh, and you reprimand them, uh, chastise them, but you still love them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yes.
And in a sense, when we look at these people like Joe Biden and the rest of them, all the cabal here that exists all over the place, we shouldn't see them from the child perspective. We should see them from the adult perspective,
Yeah.
that we are greater than them. Okay, if as long as we hold this position that we are children and we won't follow you, you try to lead us, you naughty boy, I'm not going to follow you, so we become disobedient children. No,
Yeah.
no, no. We have to take on the mantle of the adult, the thinking, feeling person who says it's okay, Joe Biden, pat him on the head and say, it's okay, you've been a naughty boy, but we can still deal with you. I hope that gives some different kind of perspective on it.
That gives a different perspective for sure. And we have another question, and I'm so sorry if I butcher this name. Saibon Go Cool. I'm Hi. I'm terrible with pronouncing things. He says, hello, everybody. Chastity Ann, how can one gain his or her soul identity? Thank you. I think, by understanding the difference between the ego self and the soul matrix, I think is really one of your first steps in identifying the ego and breaking down these structures, because as Colin so eloquently shares how we are a structure, a frequency of sound and vibration, we have these lower formed structures or consciousness that is controlling us. Okay, so it controls our mind, and because it's controlling our mind, it's essentially controlling our soul until we understand how to take over that. And so some of the things that I have done is, uh, or that I teach or share, is breaking down those ego structures. I think that's the most, by far and wide, I think that's the most important thing, is understanding the ego mind, the draconian, reptilian brain, understanding then beginning to understand how the structures of body works. And, what's really fantastic is we have all of the answers inside of us. And once we start to break down that ego and we let those emotions pour in, these shadowy depths of self, and the light starts shining on them, they start to crumble. And again, it can be really challenging. It can be very hard. It can be very scary. It can be very lonely. Um, and but when these shifts happen, we then get to, so we're dismantling the demonic houses that we've built, And then we begin to build the houses of Christ. And then we bring that soul piece in, and we start to harmonize from a loving space. And then our memories, because our soul holds our cellular memory, it holds all of our galactic memories. It's the first step to our galactic awakening, right? So it gets to just bring all these pieces into the body, and our cells remember. And then we just have to ask questions. So sitting in silence or walking with the trees, or you don't have to read a bunch of books. You don't have to take a bunch of classes if you don't want to. Those things aren't necessary, because we are the knowledge. We carry it all in us. So I hope that answers your question. That's kind of my take on, how we begin to embody the soul. Um, I don't know.
It's a question of awareness of what you are. You
Yes.
know, if you still have an awareness that you are just this person trapped in this body, but you have no idea what you are.
Mhm.
You are not aware of your I am presence. So you just kind of traipse through life being this conditioned person who doesn't take back control of the territory and ownership of their own self,
Mhm.
but continues to be this conditioned self, which is the ego. The ego is really just a conditioned self and is conditioned emotions, and and that creates the ego mind. When one begins to take ownership of your authentic thoughts, your authentic emotions, and then you begin to exercise the power of your own soul. Because remember, people don't understand this, but I'll take you through some experiences that I've had. Your thoughts, when I arrived in Sirius, be my highest self, because I was still quite fresh and new and didn't understand very much. And he said, don't be careful of your thoughts and your emotions, because and your intentions and your imagination, your standards and values and attitudes, because they create your reality. And here on Sirius B, we have an harmonic where we've agreed to hold certain values and standards and speak in a certain way and have certain attitudes, and that creates our reality. Okay, so if you come along and in higher dimensions, your thoughts and emotions create an instant response. So he asked me to stay neutral and just observe, and that I found that very hard, but I did that. With a lot of determination. So I just observed what the reality was, and I observed the beings outside of me and what they were doing, and how they'd come to this, community agreement with themselves about the kind of experiences they wanted to have and about the kind of reality they want to experience, and so they were able to do that.
Yeah.
But on this planet, we have someone else, a force outside of us, trying to control us and tell us what our reality is supposed to be. Like it's okay for us to steal your election because we the gang, we the higher ups, we the parents up here. You say no, 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 no. You might be the parent up here, but I'm the adult here.
Yep. Yep.
I don't have to agree with your assessment. So,
Yeah.
so we have to really kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Mitigate, and that's not really the word I'm looking for. Is you know, adjudicate the processes that we ourselves go through,
Mhm.
and people don't do that. They
No.
hand over their processes to things outside of them.
And
You
that's
know,
part of the cognitive dissonance, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they get totally led off track because they don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
your thoughts and emotions are very powerful things. They create your reality because the things you observe outside of yourself are the things that you are creating through your observation of it.
Yeah.
it's a bilateral thing. So, and people don't realize that what they think and feel are experiences that will come to them, because emotions are magnetic. They
Interestingly
draw.
enough, yes. Yep, that's exactly what they are. And that is a really good example of that is when you walk into a room and let's just say there is a big fight, like maybe your parents, your kid, or someone just had a big fight. You can feel those emotions in the air. They're thick, they're heavy, and maybe the fight is done, but they're still there, and you're like, what's going on in here? This feels weird, right? So,
Yep.
and then when we're not protected also, and we don't understand, and we're not responsible for our own emotions, we then can pick those up, right? They stick to us like magnets would, right? And then we walk around wearing other people's emotions, and then go out and have no idea while we're irritated or angry or frustrated, because we don't know how to do spiritual housekeeping, and let our soul kind of control our emotions, and we allow everything else to control that. I
Yeah,
completely
and
agree.
we have to learn to create energy in action.
Yes.
So when other people are having their hissy fits, we've got to be able to come and act in love and kindness, and kind of dissipate those emotions that they're having between themselves, because they don't understand that they should be responsible for their emotions. But you, as a responsible soul being, goes into that situation
Yeah.
and create love
Yes.
and change the situation.
Yep. And there's no excuse. Once you know, you can't unknow. And then you have a higher level of responsibility to humanity. So I
Yeah,
would like to add that in. Um,
and it's a
on
very dire responsibility. It's very, but when people get a hold of that, and what a deep responsibility that is, and how significant it is, it may crush you, as it did me. At the time when I was learning this stuff, I thought, Jesus, I don't want to know all this shit, man.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Um, it reminds me of, I think there are times where I go, oh, I really would like an answer to this, that, or the other thing, right? And my my thoughts and intentions, it took me a while to understand what was happening, because or before I even had the thought, like the thought happens in time space before the thought comes to me, and I only get flashes of that reality. But it's like I was like, whoa, hold on, wait, I can just get the answer myself, right? And and it's not always the answer you want to hear, but it's generally, you don't have to go somewhere else to get it, or to somebody else to get the answers. Once you can just sit in that 0 point, you can kind of grab from everywhere, right? And find those
Yeah,
answers.
and there's always a portal, a
Yeah.
way to escape something.
Yeah.
People get bogged down in their situations and their experiences, and so they think, how do I get out of this? There's a verse in the Bible that used to be one of my favorite verses, but it's very, very true, whether it's biblical or not, that God will not tempt you above that which you are able, but he will always provide a way for you to escape it, you
Mm.
know. And there's always a portal out of the experiences you have, and if you prepare to take it.
Yes, if you're prepared to take it, that's kind of the key piece, isn't it?
Yeah,
Christina Brady has a question. Are you ready for some more, Colin?
sure.
She says, curious if Lucifer can still redeem himself since he is no longer connected to source. My guess is he went too far, and he would have to want to help, or he would have to want help.
Yeah, look, I'm not responsible. None of us are responsible for Lucifer. That's his business. I, I, that. I don't consider myself below Lucifer. I don't consider him greater than myself, because in the universe, there's no greater or lesser. No matter how high the dimensions a being comes from, the universe is a unified field, and we have many connections throughout the universe, through our soul experiences. So yeah, Lucifer's there. Okay, he's doing what he's doing. We don't have to obey him. We don't have to be the children
Mhm.
who obey the parent. We have to learn to be the adult who thinks for themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
my parent is saying, but I'm not the child anymore. I'm the adult. So I raise my consciousness to that level where we are now on an equal basis. But if you keep being the parent, I don't have to obey you because I'm an adult.
There's a whole thing um, that I talk about. It's something called the false parent, right? We can talk about that another time. That we don't come here with a manual, and we have to learn how to be parents to ourselves, which is essentially what you're saying when you're saying be the adult, right? Be responsible. I don't see Lucifer really any different than um, Thoth, Enki, and Leal. I see them all as fallen angelics. There are different hierarchies, and I think that there's always an opportunity for rehabilitation. And I think you're right, Christina, when you say, he would have to want help. And that's exactly what it is. Every being has the right to be here, and they all have an opportunity for redemption. And time again, they just don't take it. So,
Yeah,
you know, it is what it is.
but it is unlike a lot of people on this planet. They won't take the redemption.
That's
They
exactly right.
fight against it. They've got the reptilian mind.
Yep.
And we just have to decide for ourselves. Because really in the universe there's none more powerful than yourself.
Yeah.
It's another passage of the Bible that I enjoyed very much when I was young. It says, "Greater is He that is within you than he that is in the world."
Mm, I like that.
Okay, and when he's talking about the the, the he that is within the world, he's talking about Lucifer.
Yeah.
Say there's a whole gamut of them. I mean,
There's a
jeepers.
whole gamut of them. There's so much. There's so much. Oh my gosh, there's a whole, maybe we'll do a show on the whole gamut of them.
There is no Satan, there is no Lucifer. There's just a frequency and vibration and energy, and they are discordant energies. It's
Yeah,
and we don't have to be in that same vibration. We can escape it if we
yeah.
want to. Yeah.
hmm We don't have to see it if we choose not to as well. If we can,
If you tune into that vibration, that's what you'll experience.
that's exactly what you'll experience. Thank you for that. So let's see. Ian says, I don't know if he has a question, but I just want to see what he says. Many of these beings have been offered redemption many times with the condition they stop manipulating other beings. That's exactly what we were saying. Thank you, Ian. Yes, that
Yeah.
they are off over and over again. They are offered redemption, and yet they just don't take it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Well, they're like children. They're playing games. They like playing the games. So, okay, so they're playing games. But I tell them, go play games somewhere else.
I don't have time for your games. I've said that, I see things come to me or come up to me, and I say, you know what? I just don't have time for this right now. I'm tired. I, I'm out, right? And then I
Yeah,
just have to, recheck my surroundings or my shield. Um, but they're everywhere. And one of the things I'll say, and it can be kind of freaky for those of us that are, awakening, is we begin to see these beings, okay, and we begin to see these entities and these beings and these demonics because we're seeing now from the soul level. So we see, different things. And I remember one time, well, there's been several times, but I'll just share this one time. I was walking in the mall. I was eating, and people were walking by me, and I got this really strange feeling, and I thought, ooh, something's coming, right? That's weird. And I looked up and I watched this individual, just this person walk by me, didn't look at me. But I knew whatever it was this person. And it walked by me. And as the person got by me, it like, it was, it was an entity, it was a demonic, and it turned its head and looked right at me and shot like the most horrifying death stare you could ever imagine. And I said, I see you. Just keep on moving. They just go into people that are completely clueless. This is why it's so important to understand what spiritual housekeeping is and understand how to protect yourself and protect your soul. Like, they don't have souls, right? These beings don't have souls. They pull off of, your souls. They pull off of the energy they feed off of. So they're not in contact with theirs.
Yeah, they've got distorted souls,
Yeah.
The beings that don't have souls are the small grays. They are really just artificial intelligence beings who
Yeah,
just
those are
do.
like automatons. Are they kind of like automatons? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are, I saw one of those on my front porch a few months back. But that's neither here nor there, right? Um, oh my gosh. So back to the soul matrix. And so when people are waking up and they're beginning to embody um, their soul and they're starting to be in this space, what would you say, some of the first things they're going to experience are?
There's a process actually, because I went through it and I still remember it very deeply. It's denial.
Mhm.
First thing is that they happen to say, no, 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 I'm denial. And that whole process of denial is a very important one because, and that's what most people on this planet are suffering from, is denial
Mhm.
of, and we see it in the news now, like Donald Trump didn't win the elections, and there was denial, 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 denial.
Mhm.
And denial is not just a thought thing, it's an emotional thing as well. It's where you put up the barriers of resistance.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to experience this. You feel, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to, no, it's put it out there. I'm out there. The next step is when you begin to think about it, okay, and you begin to rationalize it. And when you begin to rationalize it, and your rationale is based only on a limited amount of information, then
Right.
you'll never get through the rationality of it. You have to do your own research and say what supports this rationale and what doesn't support this rationale. And when you do your own research of what supports that rationale and what doesn't support that rationale, you become more rational.
Imagine that.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they don't do the research. They don't go and say what supports this information that I'm getting now, and and how can I make it rational? And then they don't look at the other side, which is what doesn't support this rationale.
Mhm.
And it's important for people to do that.
Yeah.
And if you get through that and you begin to think rationally, and rational thinking is like looking at nature and seeing the trees and the grass and the mountains and the sky and the sun and the clouds, and say, well, what are those things really? What are they? That's the rational mind begins to ask. It doesn't say, what have I been told
Mhm.
that these things are?
Yeah.
What do I think these things are? And then you begin to do your own research on what are trees, what are mountains, what is the sky, what is the sun, and the clouds. And then you begin to form your own ideas. And once you form your own ideas, you become rational. Because if you just go by what's being fed to you by the mainstream media, your education, your religious systems, your law, your governments, it's not rational.
No, it's not. And it's incorrect. And I don't want to be so bold, but it's incorrect. It's, it's living in the matrix, and
Yeah,
it's so limited. It's so limited. There's no humanness to it. I mean,
yeah,
there's no, that it's like missing the human aspect. And,
yeah,
not everybody can sense and feel that. And I understand that, but, it's not rational. It, it,
yeah. It's
it doesn't
making
make
up.
sense.
It's making up your own mind about what you're experiencing,
Yeah.
and it's not accepting what you've been told to experience.
Yeah.
So you're not being, you don't have a conditioned response to things. You actually think about them yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have this thing about climate change and climate's out there. You know why that's been done? It's to turn our minds to think that there's something wrong outside of ourselves,
Yeah.
when we don't look at the environment in which we actually live.
Right. Right.
It's it's caustic, it's toxic, it's irrational, it's stupid.
It is.
And that's the environment we should be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. And when we understand, when we understand that we are environment creators, like we can change the frequency of any place that we stand in a
Absolutely.
heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
with
it's
your
just,
heartbeat. Yeah. I'm just, and I know that, not everybody knows this, but, this is what, Colin and I are here to share. And so many other people are here to share, is remembering who we are and what we're capable of. And, realizing that the mainstream media, our governments, our teachings, our books, these things is not telling us who we are. And when we wake up to the organic aspect of what humanity is and what it is to be sovereign,
yeah.
this beauty opens up, and your powers, I don't want to say you're some kind of superpower, but we're kind of like superpower people, right? Like superhuman. It'll sound superhuman what we actually have the ability to do. And that ability is as simple as saying we have the ability to love.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing in the universe,
Mhm.
because from a energetic point of view, they showed me how the harmonics of the universe works, the waves of energy, and the central harmonic of the universe is love. It's like middle C on the piano.
Mhm.
And once you tune into the middle C on the piano, all the rest of the keys actually follow. So you can play very, melodic music, but if your middle C is not tuned into love, you're going to have distortions in your in your experiences.
Yeah.
It's about harmonics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Well, we're right down towards the end of the time here. So I would just want to take an opportunity to say that, Colin, you have some really new and fun classes coming on that are going to be on the writings of colinjoe.com. Do you want to just share a little snippet about, just what can be expected in some of these new teachings so people can get excited about it?
Yeah, thanks. Uh, the the course that I'm doing is a 3-year course. Now nobody does 3-year courses,
Ah.
but I do because
It's the same. I
I'm,
do long one. I'm on my third year too, so I'm totally with you.
my higher self said, "Go and teach everybody as you were taught," and I understand the processes that go along with that. So I've started the first, we in the 18-month period, so we're midway in the section, but now we're going to go into much higher resonance information. Okay. And so the next course I'm going to do for people to begin to integrate stuff they've learned, about the unified fields, about the mechanics of creation, mechanics of the Merkaba, um, and many other courses that I've done that all kind of build a base
Mm-hmm.
so that people can begin to understand, integrate the information. So I'm going to do a course on the mechanics of healing, and so that people understand that the universe is a healing space.
Beautiful.
It has fail-safe methods of, you know, of diagnosing, treating, and then, um, affecting the healing. So, it's a multi-faceted course, because it doesn't only deal with healing the body. It first of all deals with healing the soul,
Mm-hmm.
because the soul is the energy that drives the body. The body gets its energy from the soul. So what is right in the soul is going to manifest in your body. So I'm going to go take people through, some of the structure of the soul. I won't do the whole structure of the soul, because that's a whole new different course that people have to take. But I'll deal with the basics so that they understand that the energy comes from the Merkaba field. It's transmitted through their chakras, and it's dispersed in their bodies through what are called ley lines, grid lines,
Meridian. Yeah.
meridians, and that goes through the body. So healing the soul is very important in order to understand the healing of the body. So then we'll get to the different ways one can heal the body, and what is holistic healing. I don't mean to be too critical of the medical industry, but from my own experience, they only really deal with symptoms. They don't actually deal with causes. So I'm going to deal with things like uh, the main causes that of distress in the body are oxidization, the inflammation, and and how to deal with oxidization and inflammation,
Beautiful.
and all that kind of structure that happens in the body. And then I'm going to deal with healing the planet, and what we can do to heal the planet. But if you don't heal your soul, heal the body, you can't heal the planet.
Right. That's right. And as we heal the body, we heal the planet. As we heal the body, we heal the soul, and then heal the planet. So
Yeah,
beautiful. I'm really excited for your new courses coming up. And I just want everybody to know that when you sign up for Colin's classes, you do have access to, the beginning of them, and you get to go back, and you can go back at your own pace and, look at things, and always reach out and ask questions. So do know that, even though, there's 18 months in, you still have, you still get to go back, and everything's still there, and questions are always answered. So yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
I did that on purpose so that some people understand, the mechanics of creation,
Yeah.
understand it, but now they want to understand the mechanics of healing, so they can jump on board and deal with that part of it. And
So you
but
can jump in wherever.
yeah, to understand the mechanics of healing, you have to understand the mechanics of creation, and so on. So and when I was discussing this with my higher self, I said, listen, there's no hierarchy to the information.
Mhm.
It's integrated. It's a whole. And so you can jump in anywhere
Yeah.
and start accumulating this information and integrating it into your soul body.
Yeah.
So people can go backwards and forwards, but this is the first time I'm doing this 3-year course. And once we finish the 3-year course, then who knows, it might go on to a 4-year course.
It just goes on and on. There's so much to learn, right? There's just so much to learn that we can really jump in anywhere and take it in, and go back and forth. And I just think that there's never going to be, it feels like there's never going to be an ending, right? Because once we embody the soul, then we have to embody the oversoul, and then we have to embody the avatar. And there are very few people that are operating from the avatar, especially on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
So, and with that comes a whole nother bucket of things to heal. So there's, it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn, but my higher self took me through this process at my own pace,
mhm.
and it pushed me. They were always, I always felt they were pushing me, but they never pushed me beyond what I was able to concentrate or deal with. I
Yeah.
often used to say to them, "Well, whoa, 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 time out, time out."
I need a break.
Information overload, yeah,
Yeah.
information overload. I can't deal with you guys anymore.
Mhm.
Just some time, go away, and I'll deal with the stuff. And when I'm ready, I'll come back.
Beautiful. The synapses aren't, yeah. It can be overwhelming, but every penny, I forgot what I was going to say there. I had a really good analogy, but I don't remember it, so I'm not even going to try to go fetch that one. But it's 100% worth it, to come into the awakening, embody the soul, and learn all of these amazing things, and understand that we are beings of love, and that's what we're here to share, and to share truth. So thank you so much, Colin. Thank you, everybody. We have, oh, Nikki's asking, who is an avatar right now? Oh, there aren't really very many avatars, honestly, that are functioning. I think that we can move in and out of our avatar, but not very many of us just walking around in real life, as our avatar selves.
Yeah.
Um, so,
People understand the structure of the soul. You get the soul, the
yeah,
oversoul, the avatar, and then you get the rishi,
yeah,
which is, and they're all dimensional. The soul is in the first three dimensions, the oversoul is in the next three dimensions, the avatars in the next three dimensions, and the
and on
and,
it
and
goes.
all of them have a beautiful structure, and they all have a certain way of expressing themselves.
They're
And
all different, almost like different personalities, right? So yeah, like yeah, not very many people. I would say I might know a handful of people that are able to function in their avatar selves, but generally it's for healing. A lot of them are healers, and so they don't really need to. We really don't need to work as an avatar down here. I think working from the monadic body, or the oversoul, um, is uh, is plenty. But
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to act like an avatar, you just be one.
yeah, awesome. Well, gosh, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I think we had a really great discussion today, and I love all the interaction. And thank you, Colin, for being here and sharing all of your stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next level of courses as well. So Christina said, I think Colin is an avatar. I love it.
Well, I was before I came here.
We all were. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys, sending you so much love, sending you love, Colin. Bye, you guys.
Love you too. Bye bye.